Hi guys, welcome back to B's Speed Shop. So today I'm going to be working on my lower bulkhead repair, working on getting that finished and spot welded to the floor. And then once that's done, I'm going to move on and start making a pattern to repair the inner wing section. So I'm at a point where I'm ready to start doing some of these spot welds now. So what I've done in a couple of places is just drilled through and just used nut and bolt just to clamp it together really tight so there's no gaps. So I've done a few of my spot welds now, so I just did a couple along each edge, and then I use the hammer and dolly just to finish closing up the gaps obviously along this edge where the floor meets this bulkhead piece, and then on the inside where the floor bends up along this piece just to close it along where these spot welds are. Just here where the plate is on the inside, I just found a small balsa chisel I used to create a score line in the folded edge on the floor, just so it would close up the gap here for this spot weld, but then it would also close up on this side where the because that plate goes in between this piece and the floor, so obviously there's like a gap just here between this and the floor where that plate is, so obviously I just hammered it to close that gap. So I'm happy with all the gaps now, so what I'll do is I'll just sort of do some more of these spot welds to get them so I know it's nice and secure, and I'll do a couple of these spot welds on this plate as well. So I've got the majority of these spot welds all welded in now. I mean, there's a couple still left to do. I can't do those two, well, three, there's one there as well, because the panel for the floor doesn't come up that high. So it's just a hole, it's not actually, so what I'm going to have to do is drill a hole here slightly, do it slightly lower, so I can get a better spot weld, so it goes through this and the floor as well. There's this one here which needs redoing because it pulled away from the floor panel a little bit, so what I'll do is I'll just hammer that a little bit more, probably just grind that back, hammer it a little bit more, and then redo it. And I've still got a couple to do for that plate that's in there, that reinforcement plate for the subframe bracket, subframe mount I mean. And then obviously the ones where I've got my bolts, I just got to take my bolts out and fill those in. But I'm quite happy with how this is going so far, so I'm just going to leave this as it is for now because it's quite hot, so I'm just going to let it cool down for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to making my pattern for this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the other side, so I'm going to roll the car over so it's upright in a minute. And I'm going to do the same trick I did last time for doing this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly mark out the section where I need to on that side, and I'll just do 2 layers of tape, and I'll lay them down in different directions, and then I can draw around where I need to trim off the excess tape, and I can mark out for these bits where I need to put the bends and where the cuts go for those bits. So there's a cut there, and I think there was one just here somewhere as well I did. So I'll mark that out, and then I can get it cut out, transfer it to my sheet of metal, mark it up, cut it out, and then I can bend it to fit in there. So I'm going to start just by laying down some strips of tape. So I'm just going to sort of overlap them halfway for the first layer, just going up. So I know roughly I need to sort of roughly go up there. So now that I've laid the first layer going in this direction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and lay the second layer going the opposite way. And then from there what I'll do is I'll mark out where all these bends are, and where I need to put these cuts to make these tabs to spot weld onto this edge. So I'll quickly get the second layer of tape done, and then we can start marking out the pattern. So now I've got my pattern carefully cut out to the right size, I can carefully peel it off. So here's my pattern, I've carefully peeled it off. So obviously, because this was done on the passenger side of the car, it goes up and round, but all you need to do is just flip it round, and then it should, if I can get it to line up, just fits in just there somewhere. Obviously it's now stuck to my hand, but obviously that's where it fits in. I'm pretty happy with that. There's plenty of material here that I can cut off, so I'll cut all this edge off just to make sure I'm getting nice clean metal welded in. So I'm quite happy with that. So what I could do now is transfer this to my sheet of metal, draw around it, and then cut it out. So I don't have time to cut out my repair patch for my inner wing at the moment, so what I'll do is I'll come back tomorrow, pick this up, and I can get it cut out, get it bent up, get the holes punched in for all the spot welds, and if we've got time I'll start welding it in, but we'll see how we go tomorrow. So picking up from where we left off yesterday, first job this morning is to cut out my repair patch. So I've started to put a couple of bends in my little repair patch I'm doing. So obviously now I can just sort of roughly hold it into place and get an idea of where it's going to fit. But what I am going to do is on where this weld is, obviously I can't push this flat against this existing panel already here. So what I'm going to do is carefully cut around this weld, just cut this piece out for now. So I can, there's a bit of a gap when I'm trying to hold it in place. So if I cut that out, I'm hoping I can push this flush against the existing inner wing, so that I can get a better idea of where I need to mark out to cut it and what I need to trim off this panel. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just carefully cut this little piece out here, and then hopefully I'll be able to mark out and fully cut out what I need to. So I've got my repair patch in a position where I'm happy with it now. So I've just done a Sharpie line along this bottom edge where I need to cut on the old panel. One thing I've got to redo is this bend on this piece. So I started here with this bend, but I need to come a bit lower so it's in line with the bend that's already there. So once I get that done, all I've got to do is punch the holes in these flange pieces for the spot welds. And on the floor piece, I've started grinding down these couple of spot welds just here. I've got one more I've got to do on this face, and then quickly grind that, so because it gets overlapped by this piece. So what I'll do is I'll start off by cutting out the old material. What I'll do is I'll cut on the inside of the line, and then obviously I can just grind it back to get a nice neat edge for this to sit on. So I've got the inner wing panel cut out now, and I've started to grind it, and it fits pretty good. There's a little bit more I just need to grind off. Just here there's a high spot I need to grind down, and on this edge up here I just need to grind a bit back so that will fit flush against this. So I've punched all my holes in for my spot welds on these flange edges where they're going to be overlapping the floor. I've also finished grinding this edge along here, so this has a nice mating surface, there's no gaps, and I've trimmed a little bit more off of this top edge here, so that all fits in now. So obviously I just got to put this bend in the right place, just move that one down a bit. Apart from putting a bit of weldable primer on the inside, it's pretty much ready to weld in. I just got a couple of spot welds I need to finish on this piece first. There's one there and there's one here somewhere. So that's all I've got time for this weekend. I'm happy I was able to get the majority of the spot welds done on the lower bulkhead repair, and I'm also making good progress on this little patch I made. So obviously next weekend I'll be able to get that welded in, and then I can move on to doing the outside sill. I've got the reinforcement brackets I need for that, so I can make a start on that. So thanks for watching this video.